Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to be taking a little bit of a look at the buy list from Pokemon Sword and Shield. If I've timed this correctly, it is Friday, which means that the set is out. Which means that you need, hopefully, a little bit of guidance on exactly which cards are worth picking up. Now remember my philosophy on buy lists. I'm generally not going to tell you about fringe Pokemon. Centiskorch is a deck in and of itself. If you want to play Centiskorch, go and buy Centiskorch. If you don't, don't. We're talking about, here are the cards you need in order to be able to make basically any deck you want, outside of obviously the main Pokemon, which are going to change deck to deck. Similarly, I am going to tell you to buy a couple of Pokemon V, but only the ones which I think you might need in a variety of different decks. It is a very good idea to go and pick yourself up some Zacian V, because Zacian V is the best card in the game. But you're going to be able to go for the entire format where Sword and Shield is legal without Zacian V, so if you don't want to buy it, you don't want to play it, you don't need to. And when it comes to trainers, we are going to try and get a playset of all of them. The classic example for me is AZ, which was a terrible card that we played as a 1 or a 2 of at the most, and then Vileplume became really big and all of a sudden everyone was playing 4 copies of AZ. Better to just be set up. But as always, if you want to buy cards that aren't on the list because you're going to play them, go for it. And if there are cards I'm going for that you don't think you need, don't bother. Personally, I will be getting a playset of Centiskorch and a playset of Corporaja because I think those decks look awesome. But that's just me, ladies and gentlemen. That's just me. So starting off then, going in set order, starting with the Pokemon, I think it's a rather good idea to pick yourself up 2 to 4 copies of Rillaboom. Rillaboom's got that amazing ability that attaches 2 grass energy from your deck, and frankly, I think this is going to see a lot of play and be very, very good. You're going to need it in basically any grass deck you play, so you're going to need them. Similarly, I think you need a 4/4 Gossifleur ELDEGOSS line. Gossifleur's got the best call for family we've got. Search your deck for 3 basic Pokemon, put them on your bench, and ELDEGOSS lets you accelerate 3 grass energy from your deck for 1 colourless energy. And of course, turn 1, call for family, turn 2, get your energy. I've seen this popping up in decks, and colourless and grass decks can make great use of it. I do think you need 1 copy of VICTINI V, because I think you're probably going to play it in every fire deck from now until until Welder's gone. Welder lets you accelerate 2 fire energy from your hand to one of your Pokemon, and for 2 fire energy, VICTINI does 30 damage for each energy attached to both active Pokemon. If your opponent ever builds up 1 giant Pokemon with all their energy, VICTINI is your counter option. I do think you need a copy. 4 copies of Drizzile and 4 copies of Inteleon, they are consistency coming out of the wazoo. When you evolve into Inteleon, you search your deck for any 2 trainer cards and put them in your hand, but when you evolve up into Drizzile, you search for any 1 trainer and put it into your hand. It's so great for consistency, it's so great in Stage 2 decks, and I've even seen a bunch of decks that just play Drizzile. You're going to need them. Now, you need 2 to 4 copies of Frosmoth, because any non-single energy water deck is going to want Frosmoth. Lets you attach as many water energy from your hand as you like to your benched water Pokemon. It is going to help out so much in any water deck. Although this might be a good time to remind you, and shamelessly get Snom up on the screen, these new Generation 8 Pokemon, you won't have any pre-evolutions from previous sets. So if you're going to go and buy 4 Frosmoth, which you probably should, don't forget to go and buy 4 Snom. Now, I know it's a V, but I think you need 1 or 2 copies of TAPU KOKO V, because when it comes to Lightning decks, I could see this being a one-of in every Lightning deck. Firstly, it's got high HP. Secondly, it's got free retreat. Thirdly, for 1 energy, it does 20 damage while drawing 2 cards. And fourthly, it does 200 for free energy. Now, Lightning decks at the moment are using the Thunder Mountain Tapu Koko combo that lets you use a free energy attack turn 1, but this does more damage than Pikachu and Zekrom. It does more damage than Zero Aura. I think you need one or two of these because it's going to go in basically every Lightning deck. Galarian Rapidash is not a card that's talked about very much at all. It's receiving almost no hype, but the fact of the matter is, while it's out, all of your Pokemon are immune to special conditions. And even if that's not a concern now, at some point there is a very good chance that there will be good special condition decks out there. Having a couple of these on hand to fight them is a very good idea. You need 4 copies of Galarian OBSTAGOON and 4 copies of Solarian Zigzagoon. Why? Because when you pop down Zigzagoon, you place 1 damage counter. When you drop down OBSTAGOON, you place 3 damage counters. Now, these were in the build and battle decks. You got it pre-releases, so you may well already have them. But if you don't, you need to have them. Because this isn't going to be a deck. This is going to be multiple decks. And that's kind of the point here. We're looking at cards which you're going to need for many decks throughout the life of this set. And this absolutely fits. Speaking of which, get a couple Toxicroak. Your opponent's poison Pokemon take 2 more damage counters between turns. If you ever play a poison deck, you're going to want it. Now, Galarian PERRSERKER, you do need 2 to 4 of these. Maybe not yet, but you will. There's a much better Galarian Meowth coming out in the near future. Well, it's already out in Japan. It will be in our next set in May, but it basically lets you search out your Galarian PERRSERKER, and it makes a huge difference. This lets all of your metal Pokemon do an extra 20 damage, and when the other Meowth comes out, this is going to see a huge amount of play in metal decks. You're going to want them. You need 4 copies of Cinccino. You could probably get away with 2, but I would recommend 4. Discard a card from your hand, draw 2 cards. And if that sounds familiar, it probably should. It is literally Zoroark's ability on a single prize Stage 1 Pokemon. It's great. It gives great consistency, and it's something you're probably going to want to put in a bunch of decks. Similarly, Oranguru, you need 2 to 4 copies of Oranguru. Oranguru lets you swap a card in your hand for a card on top of your deck. So basically, you put a card that you know on top of your deck, maybe just get it out your hand, maybe save it for later, and you draw a card in the process. Yeah, when it comes to drawing cards on a basic, we don't have very much. And there are plenty of Pokemon out there like Zacian and like Torkoal that really specifically need a particular type of energy card on top of the deck. Oranguru's got your back. And finally, 1 more Pokemon V, 1 or 2 Cramorant. And I know that's free Pokemon V, but they are Pokemon V which I envision turning up in a lot of different decks. Cramorant, I mean, it's got a decent first attack, 1 colourless energy, search for 2 cards and put them in your hand. But more than that, it's Spit Shot. 3 colourless energy, discard all energy from this Pokemon, and do 160 to one of your opponent's Pokemon, which most of the time nowadays is going to be Dedenne for 2 prizes. And it's colourless energy, so put it in a Welder deck, or put it in a Malamar deck, or put it in a Frosmoth deck, though you will need Quagsire to move it to the Cramorant, because Frosmoth can only attach to water Pokemon, but Quagsire will move it over. It's a really good card that fits into any deck with energy acceleration, and I think you need 1 or 2 of them. Now, going into trainers, this is where this set really comes in. There are a lot of new trainers in this set. Now, there's also a bunch of reprints. Some of the older reprints I am going to suggest getting, but as always, if you don't think you need them because you've got them, then ignore me. But a lot of the newer ones I'm not going to mention. Things like Crushing Hammer, things like Great Ball, things like Energy Retrieval. Most players are going to have those hanging around, so I'm not going to mention them. But do bear in mind they are out there for the very new players. You might not have them. But these are ones that literally rotated a year or 2 ago. So, I think you need 4 copies of Air Balloon. Air Balloon reduces your retreat cost by 2. It is the kind of card which is going to go into a huge amount of decks because it lowers your retreat cost more than a skateboard and more than U-turn board. So it is absolutely something that you're going to have on standby just in case. Similarly, we need 2 to 4 copies of BEDE. BEDE's a weird one. It just lets you attach an energy from your hand to one of your bench Pokemon. You, at the moment, are not going to be putting 4 of these in basically any deck. But we don't know what decks are going to look like in the future. You can probably get away with 1 or 2 of these as a cheeky tech, but I am sure that before this rotates out, someone's going to be playing 4 in a deck. Big Charm gives your Pokemon an extra 30 HP. If you're exclusively playing Pokemon with a retreat cost of 4, and you're going to stop playing when Team Up rotates out, use buff padding. Otherwise, sooner or later, you're going to need Big Charm. Evolution Incense is an absolute must. Search for an evolution Pokemon. You're going to see a ridiculous amount of this. Hyper Potion, I think you need 4 of. It is very, very good healing. What you essentially do, and it's very different to the old Hyper Potion, you heal 120 from one of your Pokemon with at least 2 energy attached, and then discard 2 energy. You can't cheat and heal if you've got no energy on, unfortunately. But it's really good healing in decks with energy acceleration, so you're probably going to want it. For Lumberry, I'll be honest with you, I'm less high on Lumberry. It heals special conditions between turns, but again, that might be relevant in the future. Marnie is an absolute slam dunk must get 4 of. Each player shuffles a hand and puts it on the bottom of the deck. You get 5 cards, your opponent gets 4. It is a great supporter that sees a huge amount of play. Metal Saucer accelerates metal energy from your discard to your bench metal Pokemon. You're going to be putting 4 in every metal deck you make for as long as it's legal. Ordinary Rod is great recovery. Up to 2 Pokemon and up to 2 basic energy. You're probably only ever going to play 1 or 2, but you never really know. 4 is safer, but you're going to need these because it is a great recovery card that you're going to put in a lot of decks. POKÉ is not a card I'm particularly high on. It's just a supporter card that lets you search your deck for any Pokemon. But the fact is, we've seen cards like this see play in the past, so 2 to 4 of them should be on your shopping list. Professor's Research is an absolute slam dunk 4 of. You need 4 of this card. Discard your hand, draw 7 cards. It is exactly like Juniper, that was a staple, and it's exactly like Professor Sycamore, which was a staple. It will definitely be a staple. And similarly, you ain't going to survive long in this format without 4 Quick Ball. You need 4 Quick Ball. Discard a card from your hand, search for a basic Pokemon. It is one of the very best cards in the game right now, and it's going to be a 4 of in the majority of decks. You will definitely need this. Rotom Bike is a weird one. You draw until you got 6 cards in your hand, and then your turn ends, but if you go first, you can't attack anyway, so why not end your turn? But you only ever really want to use 1 of these, but you need to play 4 of them to increase your chances of hitting 1 on turn 1, and it becomes an extremely awkward card. I still think you need a playset of them, mind you. Citrus Berry is very much like Lumberry for me. You get to heal 3 damage between turns. It's fine, and I think decks will play it, but I wouldn't be upset if you left this one off your list. Similarly, Team Yell Grunt. It's not a phenomenal card for getting rid of energy, but it is the best we've got in terms of supporters. You put an energy from one of your opponent's Pokemon into their hand. It's useful, and we don't have anything better. Vitality Band does an extra 10 damage, and it's objectively weaker than cards we've had in the past, like Muscle Band. It's literally half a Muscle Band, but Muscle Band rotated out. This is the best we've got, and it's gonna see play in a whole bunch of decks. And finally, 4 copies of Aurora Energy. Aurora Energy, discard a card from your hand to play it, but then it's any energy. It's Rainbow Energy without the damage counter. But you see, some decks will want to play this instead of Rainbow Energy, so you don't need to take the damage. And some decks will want to play it as well as Rainbow Energy, because now you've got 8 special energy cards that could be any energy rather than 4. We saw this in the past with things like Prism Energy. The more you've got, the better it is. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. The full buy list is now up on the screen. There's not that many Pokemon, to be honest, that I think you need. It's a weird set in that most of the Pokemon in the set are their own thing. We've got a few out there like Cinccino, TOXICROAK, GALARIAN, RAPIDASH, Frosmoth, Rillaboom, etc. that are going to span numerous decks, but the majority of them are either you're playing the deck or you're not. But when it comes to trainers, there are a lot of really good trainers like Air Balloon, like Marnie, Professor's Research, Metal Saucer, Quick Ball, Vitality Band, Aurora Energy, yes, I know it's an energy, not a trainer, that you are going to see over and over again over the next few years. So hopefully now you're nice and prepared. But at this stage, I'd like to know what your shopping list is. Which cards that I've listed do you think aren't relevant? And which cards do you think are relevant that I haven't listed? Let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about a whole bunch of games that don't have Pokemon in, but we love them anyway. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.